For today, we have three panelists that is lined up for you, and we will get into each one of them, to share a couple of things that they have been implementing at their workplace. And with me today, I have three panelists, so I'm going to just quickly introduce the three panelists that I have. I have the first one. He is none other than Rudy Manik. Rudy Manik is the Chief HR Officer for FWD Insurance in Indonesia. FWD is a Hong Kong-based regional insurance company that owned by one of the richest men in Asia. Now, Rudy has been in the insurance fraternity for the last close to 10 years. And prior to this, he has been with different corporates. We will delve into it in a short while. The next, we have Tanmaya. Tanmaya is a founder and CEO of inFeedo. inFeedo is really a tech company. They're based in India. And he has been with inFeedo for the last 7 over years. Now, last but not least, we have my fellow Malaysia, Syukri Sudari. He's the Chief People Officer. He's currently with AXA Affin Insurance company in Malaysia. Has been holding these positions for the last close to 15 years. And Syukri is the digital catalyst and one of the most influential LinkedIn icon in Malaysia. Now, without further ado, let me get into each one of them. So maybe before I get into the panelists, I would just quickly take a quick look of where are we, the people. So we have people from Malaysia, we have from Philippines, we have from Jakarta, Robobank, Philippines, and then let me see. We have from Singapore, we have from Malaysia, and I think we have from India as well. Yeah, so this is quite an international group, and the number is still coming up. In the last 3 minutes, I see the number went up by more than 10. It's keep going up now. So let's get it started. And today, I like the title suggests, bridging employee mental wellness gaps with AI. Maybe we'll get the day started with Rudy. Hi, Pak Rudy.
Yes, hi, Pete. Peter, how are you?
What roles does empathy play in bridging employee mental wellness in your organization? Yeah.
Okay. Perhaps before we go deeper into the empathy, the impact of or the role of empathy in bridging the mental wellness, let me explain a little bit about the wellness program. Just to make sure that all of us get same understanding about the mental wellness. When we are talking about wellness, wellness is considered as a lifestyle journey to balance every facet of life, either this is physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, environmental, and also occupational well-being. So there are 4 pillars that we will touch when we are talking about wellness. The mind, which is to support and enhance the mental health of the employees, and then the body, more into the physical wellness, and then we go to the wealth to be more physically responsible, and then also the purpose. Usually in corporations, this is to address inherent human desire to find the purpose when they are entering an organizations. So back to your questions, mental wellness is talking about the mind. And then of course the next questions, what is the impact to the organizations if we are taking care of the mental wellness? Of course, only one sentence that I can say that happier employee is a productive employee. So based on the conclusions, I believe we can understand directly what will be the impact. But then the questions will be how we can cope with organization life, especially on managing stress and emotions. So there are many studies explaining that there is a positive correlations between job satisfactions and performance to emotions. So it is said that positive emotions will impact to the positive performance, but then negative emotions will also lead to the negative job performance. And when we bring this to the organization like us as a company, there are what we call here as a work environment. It could be the characteristic of the job, could be the job demands, and then when we are interacting in all day on daily basis, of course we will face some different situations. Could be the daily hassles, which is unpleasant events. Could be also the daily uplifts, which is the pleasant events, and we impact the emotions and the mood of the employees. The question for us as a company, how we can detect these emotions and mood, because we believe if we can create positive emotions and mood, it will create also the positive performance. So this is where empathy will play the role. So on how we can understand other people. In simplest form, empathy is the ability to recognize emotions in others and understand others people's perspective on the situations. Okay. This will also enable us as organizations to give insight on how we can improve someone's emotions and mood, and then to support them through challenging situations, especially in current situation. We are in the COVID outbreak, and then we are trying to introduce remote working arrangement. The ability of organizations to detect the emotions and mood becoming more challenging because the absence of physical interactions. This is where also I see technology can take the part.
I see.
So I think that's of course, when we can build the empathy, we can understand more people. But if we fail to create these skills, our ability to understand people will be also lower. So maybe, Peter, that's my short explanations.
Excellent, Pak Rudy. So in essence, there is 4 pillars. So today we are only talking about one of the pillars. We are talking about the mind. So there is 3 parts to it. So you have the physical, you have the wealth, and then you have the purpose.
Yeah.
Excellent. So someday we will delve into the other 3 parts if the opportunity arises. Pak Rudy, is that okay with you?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So with that, I would just want to bring on the next speaker or the panelist that we have that is very experienced in technology sphere. So we'd like to hear from Tanmaya, what is the leading cause behind growing demand for mental wellness in the industry, in various industries across the globe, because with the COVID-19 and many others, refrain people from moving from one country to the next country, how technology come into play, and what are the leading cause to this mental wellness in various industries. Tanmaya, over to you.
Thanks, Peter. I thought I'll also define mental wellness because it's often misperceived, right? Because more often than not, mental health and mental well-being is often associated to saving suicides. And it's important to sort of backtrack to say that it starts with mental illness, and you have to focus more on mental fitness, mental well-being, and even the basic issues is stress, anxiety, and not just depression, right? For example, post the lockdown, the definition of mental wellness has evolved to, okay, how do I work from home and stay sane? How do I deal with isolation? How do I deal with loneliness? How do I deal with a tough manager? How do I deal with me losing my job? Right? So those are the basic definitions of mental wellness, which are super critical. And something about the likelihood of the same before I dive into the cause, right, is that sometimes we believe that over our lifetime, and some studies say that 1 in 4, which is 25% of us, might go through mental challenges. It's actually 25% over a year, right? So 25% of us would actually go through a mental challenge over a period of any 12-month window. And that's 1 of 4 of us on this panel, or 1 in 4 people across our companies. And the leading cause, and where it starts becoming very important, is 72% of leaders are going through, right? So when I look at CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs, it's starting from the top, right? So if your managers, your peers, and your leaders are going through mental wellness challenges, right, it is going to compounding stress across the board. Now, when it comes to the cause, right, the core cause we've noticed is something we call the locus of control, where we've seen that what's shifted is over the last couple of decades, from I control what happens to me, we've moved to the world controls what happens to me. Right? And this is the primary reason for why mental wellness has become a challenge. And some things that have compounded this cause, right? It's for example, negative news is traveling so much faster. That image on the left is one of my favorite images, because even before the lockdown, like in the ancestral world, we used to see that our limited worldview used to be 10 people, 20 people. Now we see the top 1% of the world and the worst 1% of the world. So we're living in extreme situations, right? We sort of moved to a time where post-COVID, post the lockdown, post this isolation, extroverts are facing challenges because of isolation. Individual contributors, which are ICs, are also facing challenges, right? Because they're even more isolated. First-time managers are even more directionless, right? Because they don't know how to handle, let's say, a post-COVID or a remote situation, let alone basic management. And of course, most importantly, leaders who themselves are going through mental wellness challenges, it's compounding because of misinterpreted communication, uncertainty, anxiety, and most importantly, what I'd like to conclude at least this slide is the stigma around the same. That even if there is a mental wellness challenge, people barely come across and share it with their leaders and managers at companies. So there's a stigma around raising the issue, and there is a cost restriction as well, right? Even if people believe that they want to go ahead and seek help, right, there is a cost and access challenge as well. But that's a summary of at least what the cause is. And of course, with that, I can hand it back to you, Peter.
Excellent. So Tanmaya, I hear that, it seems like, every human beings on earth are having these challenges, because you talk about extrovert are being challenged because they cannot go out and express themselves. Introvert hide at home, also being disturbed because now extrovert also at home. So then we have the first-time managers, we have the leaders, and the worst situation is that I would say it's not really just Asian context, but it's a global phenomenon where the stigma of people not able to express their challenges that they are facing. So you are well said and well defined. Thank you very much for that insights, and that leads me to move on to the next panelist, and we will bring on Syukri from AXA Affin Insurance Malaysia. Now, Syukri, I understand that your organization, you are very digital tech driven persons in your role, and you have introduced a lot of digital aspects into your HR practices. Now, since you are a proud early adopter of HRTech, have you came across solutions that make problem of mental wellness easier to solve? Yeah.
Thank you, Peter, Rudy, and Tanmaya. It is nice to meet all of you, very familiar faces. Before I share my views, let me ask Peter one question. How are you, Peter?
I'm good.
So to us, it's not just a question. it can be a breakthrough and change someone's life. On some occasion, when I do ask that kind of question, I can see people are breaking down, right? I know Peter, a very macho guy, is not crying today, but I do have the occasion when people are crying, they are breakdown, especially during the MCO, because life is tough, and it carry different meaning to married people, single parent, unmarried, those things. So I think that Maya addressed that just now. In every 5 person or 4 person, one having mental wellness challenges. So we have 5 here today. So perhaps 100 person struggling on the mental wellness now. So for us, by asking the first question just now, it's a first step for us to discovering the solution for mental wellness solution. So my answer to Peter's question, yes, we found a digital solution that made mental wellness easier to solve. We are lucky because we started our journey with the human touch, by asking, how are you? And then after that, we are engrossing into the high tech in that sense. So when we discover that, actually people need that kind of attention. So I think we are so lucky, because I think I would like to thank Tanmaya because come on with Amber. Amber has our AI chatbot that really helps for the company, for me personally, really understand how our people are feeling in terms of the mental wellness, of the well-being, by doing wonders in that sense. So with that, because of even Amber working for us, chatting with our people during MCO by having a special module for that. Because of that, we discovered that it's a paramount for us to come up with something that support our people. So while searching the technology, we found the suitable technology for our people. So within the social distancing norm, we launched our first digital employee assistance program, EAP, for the employees to achieve the maximum potential of mental wellness and be the best versions of themselves. We are proud to say that this is the milestone that we set up the part of the traditional way of creating an engaging employee experience. It's basically, we found a complete solution from the mobile application access to dedicated hotline, digital coaching, remote therapy session, webinars, and wide range of wellness topics. Through my experience so far, it is important for us to combine between the high tech, that's mean the technology, and high touch as well. It's a collaboration between man and machine. Machine is, or technology is helping us identifying the symptoms and to analyze and to a certain extent to diagnose and help address issues. But the moment that complex, we have a complication, the situation becomes more complex, we still need human intervention. In summary, yes, we do find some technology that help us. I'm so happy with technology because when we have the diagnosis in terms of our people, the technology comes in order to support us in terms of how to support our people to really address their mental wellness in that sense. So because that's how we experience the technologies that support our problem in mental wellness that easy to solve. Peter, back to you.
Thank you, Encik Syukri. So I'm hearing very interesting stuff about this Amber. Later, I will call in and see whether I can join this AXA company as an employee to experience the Amber. Is that cool?
You should get inFeedo for that. They're coming up with a super kind of robot for us, chatbot for us.
Excellent, excellent. So with that preambles that we know that there is such a technology out there, so inFeedo has this. Now I want to bring back Pak Rudy. Pak Rudy, what is the return of investment of mental wellness program for organizations? How do you go about to do this calculation? Because otherwise CEO will be always a CEO will say, hey, you are asking for this budget, that budget to implement certain things. That will always ask, what's in it for me? What's the return of investment? So over to you, Pak Rudy. Pak Rudy, you got to unmute first.
All right. Sorry, Peter. Yeah, I think there are two things here on how we convince our management. Secondly, what is actually the return on investment when we are going to invest in mental wellness program. Of course, we should start first to think from the business perspective. In any business discussion, we should talk about cost and benefit. So, of course, the first thing that we can do, whether we can list what kind of benefits or return of investment, if I want to use your terminology, that we can bring to the company with this initiative. Especially in the current situations, right? As the work from home experiments stretches on, we should admit that some cracks are starting to emerge. I don't know what will be the situations in different countries, but in Indonesia especially, we can hear more and more challenging situations with this kind of remote working, like a project take longer, training is tougher, hiring, integrating employees becoming more complicated. Some employers say that the workers appear less connected, and the bosses fear that the younger professionals are not developing at the same rate as they would in the office. So many these kind of situations after 3 or 4 months lockdown. So this is something that we can also bring to the table as a benefits. And also we can see also some studies done by different organizations. For example, WHO estimates that 10% of world populations is affected by mental health disorder. And then they also said that the estimated cost to the global economy is around $1 trillion per year in lost productivity. In insurance, there is an AIA study talking about healthiest workplace. The study was done back in 2017. They said that the impact of mental disorder result in some number, US 1 trillion in lost productivity in a year. So it's similar with the WHO study. Also Mercer in 2017 doing like a study in Hong Kong as well. The average time lost due to absenteeism and presenteeism per employee amounts 70 days in a year. And 64% of the 70 days at least due to work-related stress. So we should be able to bring this to the table, and then with some benefits that we get. For example, earlier I explained about what is the correlations between emotions and productivity, and then and based on the experience that I got, for example, from Syukri as an early adopter of technology, this kind of skills that we get with the support of AI, we can improve our employee retentions. That will lead us to avoiding potential loss due to lack of resources, of skills, can be because of resignations. Maybe can also they don't necessarily resign. They can be also, like I mentioned, presenteeism. They are at the office, but they cannot perform as what we expect from them. So there are many benefits that we can bring to the table to the management to explain them what will be the positive impact if we try to maintain this mental wellness of our employees. So and there are a couple activities actually that we can do. It depends on the maturity level of our organizations on driving the mental wellness program. If we are still on early stage, I think it will be good if we start from building awareness, like promotions of mental well-being. And then the next steps, we should be able to develop the skill of managers. Of course, it will be not easy in this kind of situations, but with the support of technology, we can get the insight already. Then we can move forward on how managers deal with issues around mental health and stress. maybe from the HR, we can come with different programs like assistance programs. Many companies are doing this right now, including us in our company. We try to promote the environment that support mental well-being. We also provide some sessions with the employees, and also we even invite external professional counselor to give employees opportunity to discuss their situations that we believe with this investment, it will improve as well the performance in our organizations.
Great input, Pak Rudy. Okay, so I hear this, this is a starting figures looking at like 1 trillion, costing $1 trillion of losses. And, Hong Kong studies in Hong Kong, 70 days of presentism, absenteeism, and out of that, 64% are attributed to workplace related stress. And that triggered a lot of conversations that, all right, so with that sort of possibility, with data that we can use to justify how we are going to convince our CEO to adopt or to implement some of this, let's bring back Tanmaya to share with us what promise does AI and analytics will bring to solve mental wellness issue in the workplace. Tanmaya.
Thanks, Rudy. This one's particularly personal to me, right? Because we've been very, very passionate about this space, and I thought I'll explain the landscape of technology before we delve into the specifics of the same.
Excellent.
So, like we were speaking earlier in the previous question, the challenge is this spectrum that we see in front of us, which is all the way from mental illness to mental wellness to mental performance or mental immunity, so to say. We more often than not only focus on the left side, and that's where the stigma lies, right? But the stress, the anxiety, and like Syukri said, we need to build, let's say, a partner firm which has a series of therapists and so on and so forth to help our employee base. That all of that sort of comes in the middle, right? Which is either reactive or proactive. But the technology can actually come more towards the right size, where we'd have heard of platforms like Headspace and Calm as consumers, not just as companies. And interestingly, the usage of all of these platforms have tripled. But now where does AI and analytics fit, right? Where does it become very special to corporates and not just consumers? And let's focus on the right side. So there are two I's, my favorite I's, which is inclusivity and individuality, especially in a region like Southeast Asia and India, where we're full of diversity. How can we leverage technology to be more inclusive and be more personal, right? I'll give you one example. Right now, the average HR business partner to employee ratio is perhaps 300:1 in most companies. For every 300 people, you have one employee, one HR employee, right? So for every 300 employees, you have one HR business partner. So how can you bring it down to perhaps for every 10 people, you have HR business partners, one HR business partner. So 10:1 from 300:1. So AI can help you focus only on those people who need attention, tell you exact talking pointers on what to talk about, give you historic data, where AI can actually have objective conversations without any emotion, without any historic bias, right? And actually allow you to make sure you get accurate real-time data at an individual level. Vis-a-vis poor predictors from annual surveys, which only happen once a year. And instead of treating people like human beings and individuals, everyone gets the same questions at the same time in annual surveys. So how do you move from macro common templates to individuality at scale, right? I think that's one area where it can help. Some examples I think I was very impressed by across the world is there are companies like you see Talkspace on your screen, which actually match you to therapists based on your profile, right? There are companies like Meru Health and Blue Call, which actually enable you to chat with therapists in case you're not comfortable speaking to them on phone. And there's another company which actually takes it further by saying that you don't have to have a 1-hour conversation with a therapist. You don't have to speak to, let's say, them regarding all of your personal issues. You can just ask them one question. For example, if you're struggling with a micro problem or one incident that caused you stress. For example, if I was fired yesterday, that doesn't mean I'm depressed. That just means I'm really stressed for the next 7 to 10 days. How do I deal with that? Right? So there are so many solutions that have augmented and enabled HR to use chat, and it's blown up in the remote work era because we've seen EAP programs triple in usage, right? So a very good way to, perhaps I saw a question on chat, like how can we sort of convince our leadership to prioritize this? It's very simple, right? Because if you just monitor your EAP programs, employee assistance programs, their usage by default is tripling, right? And you could also even do an anonymous survey across your company, even before you implement any technology, because blindly implementing technology just because others are doing it is not good. Just do an anonymous survey in your company. How many people are actually going through mental health challenges directly with themselves or their family? And you'll be surprised to know that more than 50% of the organization would lie in that, right? And I think the core takeaway from all of this is that how do you apply data-driven empathy at scale, right? Where, for example, Peter, Syukri, Rudy, all of you could have individual one-on-one conversations as if you knew the employee for a lifetime without even speaking to them before that, right? So that should give you a context of how AI analytics can help.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. This paint a beautiful picture of how the data, AI and technology can actually help us to ease some of these ambiguous area where many of us are still probably struggling. I mean, I hear a lot of HR leaders I mean, at least in Southeast Asia region, that struggles to get through this, and you know, with the technology, I'm quite sure that it will certainly help in many ways to reduce the unnecessary hassle that they go through. Now, before we go to the, I see a lot of questions coming in, and now 5-6 questions coming in. Keep that coming in, and if you see those questions that you would like to, you know, vote for the questions to be answered earlier, just click on the sort of like a like button, and then the question will pop up to the earlier, and I will take on the questions right after we bring on Syukri for another question. Also, Syukri, what are the key challenges for early adopters on the fence about technologies, you know, and perhaps personal level, why did you decide to take this journey?
Let me be bold about the answering this question. You know, I've been known as being bold and being transparent. The first and the main challenge is, in fact, our mindset, Peter. We're afraid on our own shadow, in fact. We now always ask ourselves, even we have the technology, are we ready for it? And we always would like to analyze until paralysis, right? Analyze till paralysis, until paralyzed. Yeah. And to be honest with you, if you ask people and people the question, we will never be ready until we go for it. I give an example, crystal clear example. Recently, just imagine we go back to December 2019. If we ask all companies, are we ready for our people to work from home? The answer is that we are not ready culturally, physically, we're not ready. But what happened in March 2020? You know, in Malaysia scenario, everyone working from home. Another example, back in December, if we ask, you know, before that, will you buy fish and vegetable using online platform, all those things? Nobody will say yes, no. They say no. You are in state. But you know that during MCO, even the 50 years old aunties and uncles buying all those stuff using online platform, right? So I think the first thing is that is a mindset. We always want to analyze until, you know, everything is being paralyzed. Second, by nature, human being, we hate change. You ask everybody, you know, do you like change? We don't. You know, we want to be complacent. We're happy with wherever are we currently, because we always associate change with pain. So the normal reaction will be, we want to be innovative without any change. The question is that, can we do that? Be innovative without any change? The answer is no. We have to strip away all the governing red tapes and just do it. So we need to change the question in our mind. The moment that we change the question in our mind, we'll get different answers. So let's look change and innovation as something that we could gain rather than pain. Last but not least, talking the employee adoption to the technology. Most of the time, mentioned about the barrier of entry, the cost. I think Pak Rudy touched about the cost ROI, And then, when we already have the technology, people talking about personal data protection, the security concern, it's all kind of challenges we're facing. And again, people will ask that, are we too advanced with all the technology that we have? What will be the, what will be the impact if we fail? To AXA, we are simple. If we need to fail, we need to fail fast and learn from whatever that failure that we have and learn the lesson. So one of the issues that really important for us is the adoption rates of the user. Because otherwise, it doesn't make sense for you to have the best technology in the world, the best program, the best system in the world, but it's such a waste of energy and time if the technology never be used of our employees. So to me, that having a Ferrari, but you never drive your Ferrari, you just polish on daily basis and just take photo in front of your Ferrari and then post in social media. So to me, that adoption is important. Yes, we have technology, but how to make sure that our people are using, the managers are comfortable with that. So as always, I always believe in this. To me, this is important. We're talking about be bold, be brave, and be better. Back to you, Peter.
Wow, excellent. Be bold, be ready, be better. Now, I will come to, I'll go to the Q&A first, and then I'll come back for the overall session key takeaway. And I'm actually quite excited with the sharing of the very three panelists and with three key takeaway. So I'm going to just quickly jump on. Very interesting the way Syukri is pointing it out to us. Now, I'm going to look at some questions. There are so many questions here. So I'm going to look at the first one from Emilia. How do we educate and convince employees that AI and advanced technology should be be our focus during this era? Lots of them still have negative perceptions about this. Maybe we'll get Syukri to answer these things. He is the early adopter and he has implemented some of this AI technology in the workplace. Syukri, over to you.
Let me share with you my experience when I introduced new technology in my company. I think the first thing that the most important thing that we need to address the why part. So because most of the time, us as HR leaders or leaders of the company, we just focus on the how and what. The why never be addressed. The moment that you're able to address why we need this, then much easier for us to really convince the stakeholders to really adopt the AI technology, right? So when it comes to why, you know that the technology advancement will help us in terms, at the end of the day, it goes back to the reason, the existence, the real existence, the reasons of why company exists. We make a profit. We need to be successful as a company. So one of the key success that I think normally I share this during the conference is that in my experience when I introduced Amber in the whole company, not being presented to the EXCO member, is the CFO the one to present that topic, right? Because I managed to convince the CFO, and then she knows that the benefit of having AI. She's the one who rushed to the CEO and then asked Emmanuel, this robot, this chatbot is very good for our employees. And then Emmanuel was looking at him, point blank. Michelle, why are you here? Why are you here? Where's Syukri in that sense? So I think the moment that you have why, everyone understands how important is having that, and then half of the battle already on your side.
Excellent, Syukri. So next, we will take on to the next questions. What kind of technologies are you using to improve the monitor mental health of your employee? Maybe, because this is talking about the technology, I would want to Tanmaya to take a look at these questions and share with us how inFeedo as a solutions company would be able to provide that sort of solutions to the greater HR fraternity in this chat room here.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Syukri, for the shout out. So the way we help most companies is via Amber, which is a persona, right? So it's extremely critical to establish not just a technology or a tool, but a persona everybody trusts, right? Because that's the first problem. How do you build a persona? In our case, we call her Amber, where Amber is the singular employee. She's not really an employee. She's, of course, a chatbot. But everybody trusts her because she opens with a trust statement that you can trust me because X, Y, Z reasons. Here are the people who have access, and so on and so forth. So the communication is super focused and super trust building, right? That's where it all begins with Amber. However, Amber's job is to make sure she chats with employees on a regular basis on personalized milestones, for example, a manager change, for example, a project change, any stressful moment that occurs in the organization, and time-based milestones as well. For example, 3 months of joining, 6 months of joining, remote onboarding will be challenging these days, a special 1-year anniversary, 5-year anniversary, where sometimes we forget to sort of do a one-on-one check-in with how people are doing, especially the ones who spend a lot of time in your company, right? We forget to do check-ins with the high performers because we're presumed they're doing okay. So how can Amber regularly, objectively ask the right questions at the right time to the right people automatically, right? I think my favorite part is sometimes we as human beings, especially with thousands of employees in our companies, are not able to keep track of what people said 3 months ago, 6 months ago. But the benefit of something like Amber is she actually remembers what you said last time, right? So every time she speaks to the employee, she'll remember what you said. And of course, with that, she'll constantly build trust. And the end outcome for the organizations is, despite all of the conversations which the employees love, is the HR earlier used to do skip meetings, focus group discussions, pulse surveys, annual surveys. Most of it was offline. CEOs used to walk on the floor and so on and so forth. But now every single day, the HR and CEO get an unbiased report which cuts across all managers and HR. So you have one single source of employee mental well-being, employee sentiment, which you're getting every day, every week. And it also pinpoints specifics on exactly which top performer is most likely to leave, exactly which individual is unhappy, which individual is struggling, and why. Right? So it's very specific, very pinpointed, and so sort of call back to the 2 I's that I focused on. It focuses a lot on individualistic behaviors and also on inclusivity. And those are some key focus areas for now, but at least as we speak right now. But of course, Syukri is a better person to speak about how he has utilized the product, because of course we guys have made it ourselves.
Excellent. So now that we know you can hire an employee by the name of Amber, 24/7, unbiased, objective, and can give immediate response on the regular basis to the CHRO as well as CEO without delay. That's the best part. I think if you are the employer, probably you should consider hiring Amber. So that leads me to the next questions. I know there are quite a number of the questions and center around the implementation part. So we will touch on that in a short while. But let me get this question out of the way because it's talking about before you get actionable things. We got the first thing is back to Rudy to talk about a little bit about that. What are the areas and initiatives that we can do to get management to do the buy-in and ensure that we are able to implement this, and what are the HR initiative, or what have we do with the policy to ensure that this can be bring to the forefront for management approval?
Yeah, Peter, I can see some questions actually going to that single questions, how we can get the buy-in from the management. Again, for me, let's start from the benefits. What kind of the benefits that you can get if you implement this kind of initiative? Benefits can be something that fulfilling the gaps. Number one, can be also enhancement for what we have right now. So you should be able to assess in which positions your organizations currently. Are you going to fulfill the gaps or enhancing what you have right now? How do you know that you are right now, for example, trying to fulfill the gaps? Of course, it depends on how we are interacting so far with our senior leadership team, for example. Are we in organizations that presenting data analytics and insight becoming our daily discussion with the during our board meeting or not? So because you should come with the facts to bring to the discussion. For example, let's take one very simple example. Attrition rate. How do you assess your current attrition rate? When you are talking about attrition, of course, to say that, okay, my current company's attrition rate is, for example, 8%. Saying 8% doesn't mean too much. Of course, we should go deeper again. What does it mean attrition? Because there is voluntary attrition. There is also involuntary. Please split it into two. And then, of course, you should bring your attention to the voluntary attrition. And then in this voluntary attrition, you should go deeper again. Is it the regrettable attrition or non-regrettable? So if at the end you can get the result of 5% while your market right now is 8%, you are good already. But then if it is 8% or regrettable attrition while the market is 5%, you are in problem. So this kind of facts you can bring to the management and discuss with them how we can fulfill the gaps to bring us to the better level. And then with this kind of situation, we can come with some insight on how we can improve. Of course, one of the way that you can do is survey. Survey is very common, I believe. Some companies are doing like satisfaction survey or engagement survey. Actually, this is something that we can leverage, but we should admit as well, in many organizations, survey is done usually on annual basis. So it is not the real time feedback anymore. After we get the result of the survey tomorrow, the good performers resign already. So we should start to think how can we get that situations in the real time, so we can come with more timely solutions. So this is where I see technology can help us. So this kind of example we can bring to our leadership team. We can also assess from the impact of losing skills and resources. Of course, there are many calculations in the market that you can use. For example, if you lose one, for example, head of business, head of the new business for 3 months, of course, you will spend money to recruit. And then you will have a 3 months without resources that actually can bring you the new business. And then also the loss of knowledge if this person leave the company. So many things that you can bring to the table to prove to the management that actually this kind of initiative can help us to improve our organizations.
Excellent. Now,
Peter,
I
hello, Peter.
yes.
Can I just sorry, can I just add a bit? No, I can't.
Absolutely. That would be even better.
Right. So I totally agree with Pak Rudy. But I want to challenge a bit in terms of the person that asked this question. I think most of us are HR. The question is that, the fundamental question is that, do we think that mental health is people or HR topic? Right. To me, in my humble opinion, mental wellness is not HR topic. It's a company topic. It's a business topic. Until we manage to do that, then the top management or the ESCOM member of the company will look at it differently in that sense. So the first step, we need to make sure that we need to find ways how, as HR, bringing this topic is not HR topic. In AXA, mental wellness people topic is not my topic. It's the whole company topic. It's the management topic. The moment that we're able to do that, you will see a lot different. The way that the management and school member look at this topic differently. Even they will come up to HR, why do we do this in that sense? Thank you, Peter.
Excellent, Syukri. I personally, I can resonate that very well because I believe in this. All the HR people, if you are not a business person in a HR role and you are a HR person in a business, then you got to think again whether do you really understand the business needs. If you don't understand the business needs, then your values creations in a cocoon of HR are somewhat limited. That's the point that I want to leave. Now we move on to the next questions, and these questions I would like to combine 2 or 3 questions together. And then this question is going to go back to Rudy again. It talks about how managers or leaders play a role in managing employee wellness. And then I link it back to the next questions on, should it be mandatory for companies for employee mental health and safety to be stated as a priority in a company? Rudy?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, okay, sorry. All right. I linked it to the other questions because there is also a question asking about where does the employee experience playing the part on this mental wellness. So when we are trying to build a very good employee experience that we believe will impact positively to the engagement of the employees, I should say that I would prefer to use actually human experience because it's becoming more popular right now. We are using like employee experience. Actually, this is not only creating the seamless interaction between employee and the company through advanced or sophisticated processes of the technology that we are trying to adopt. There is also, like for example, propose that we should inject to that experience as well. So to inject this purpose, we cannot do it by machine, right? We need the leaders. We need the leaders. So because on creating human experience, there should be collaborations between technology and the leaders. And to create the environment, we should also put into considerations what kind of values and culture that we build in our organizations. Now, when we are talking about values and culture, of course, everybody knows here, we are all HR. It should be top-down, driven by the leaders. So this is where leaders have a very critical roles to make sure that we can create an environment that support mental wellness. So, so the second question is it that should we do it on a mandatory basis or not? Yeah, I think it depends on your organization. From my side, yes, because we understand already what will be the impact if we can manage this mental wellness well, and what will be also negative consequences if we are not able as an organization to take care of these kind of situations. Back to you, Peter.
Very well said, Pak Rudy. I think in all, if you talk about mental wellness, we need to be, every leaders in the organization need to take accountability. Like what Syukri said, it's never a HR issue, it's actually a business issue. And if we don't do the needful, it will certainly impact the business, not just HR. HR is by the way that you are in that role. Yeah. So I've seen there are many more questions to come, but I would like to have these specific questions to be answered by Syukri. It says by Angaraj. Syukri, you have implemented dozens of technologies in your organization, including bots. How do you justify the investment in these tools, and have you seen clear ROI? So the justification, I think you have done it already. But how do you, have you seen the clear ROI, which is the second part of the questions?
All right, so I think at the end of the day, we need to speak the business language, all right, the lingo whatsoever. So to me, in our industry, financial industry, insurance, I think Peter knows insurance, talent are scarce in that sense, right? So insurance are not that sexy compared to the banking. So for us, retaining our people, especially key talent, is important in that sense. So innovation is something that we need to walk the talk. By having all this new intervention technology that our people knows that innovation in this company are important and key. as a result, we have seen a lot of new invention that our people come out, innovation that our people have come out. I'll give you an example. We came out with the first telematic insurance in Malaysia 3 years ago. Yesterday, we just launched another new product, innovation. It's the first in the market in that sense. So the moment that the management or the company knows that because of the technology, we create the new and beyond, the new culture that, yes, innovation is important, that we can see new product, at the end of the day, it's going to be translated into dollars and cents, into your profitability, into your revenue of the company. So whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, the company will look from that perspective. Yes, we have new invention. We managed to retain our talent. We are below that market attrition in terms of percentage of attrition rate. So that will be a good indicator for our people, for the company, to continue with what we have done in terms of investing for the future in that time. Yeah.
Wow, Syukri, very well said. Now, that leads me to the next questions. Also from Angaraj, but this is to Rudy. He said, Rudy, then no doubt technology can add value to all the aspects of the organization. But the question here is, where does employee experience or well-being lies in the priority of list of HR or business leader?
I think I explained that part earlier, Peter.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned some of it. Okay, we'll go to the next questions. Okay, this question from Michael Lu. I think this gentleman, some of us know him in Malaysia. It's a quite popular man here. Mental wellness is a very personal affair. Some employees are very concerned about disclosing their mental states of employer or HR, worrying to bring impact to their employment. Can panelists here share some insights of how AI can encounter this employee and open up their possibility of sharing issue with relevant authority? So we'd like to hear from the context of tech company. So Tanmaya, would you want to take these questions? And then later we'll get Syukri and Rudy as well to provide little input. Yeah. Tanmaya, over to you.
Sure, Peter. So Michael, the context, I think all of the employees come up with by default is they don't trust any solution that's deployed by HR or the company, right? So the first stance is we're on defense and we need to clarify in as many places as possible who has access to anything they're sharing in writing, not just verbal announcements, right? So whether it's your emails, whether it's your tool, whether it's your licensed therapist, like who has access to the data, right? We have to be crystal clear. What are we going to do with that data? It can essentially sort of build a trust statement around it. Who has access? What are we going to do with the data? And why are we collecting this data right now? Right? Because people tend to believe that you're going to use that to evaluate them for their next appraisal, their next performance review, and they do not want that. One of the things we've learned is how can we ensure that the access is restricted only perhaps to the leadership or only to the HR? Because most of the times people have challenges with their managers, right? So how can you have a perpetual skip where the access is not with managers? And some companies have actually even gone to the extent of only restricting access to the CHRO or CEO office, and maybe even relying on third parties to further sort of put a stamp and an authority on your claims of being confidential. Because sometimes employees believe that if this product is built by our own company, then I'm sure somebody else has access. So just clearly communicating, repeatedly communicating, calling that out, and actually giving it time for about 2 to 3 months to let that trust instill, because it's not like a switch. Only after 7, 8, 10 attempts of repeatedly communicating something new will the change happen. I think that's a nutshell of how it can help. I think Syukri can, of course, substantiate like Peter said.
Syukri, do you have anything to add on?
My comment, I'd like to echo Tanmaya 100% because it's important to really establish the trust. Trust is important in the whole equation. When we launch our EAP for our employee, we make sure that the intervention is just between the system and the employee, and the third party manage that. None of the information will go to HR. We are not going to look at it at all, because what our concern is that we want to have something for our people to help them to do better in that sense. So I think the moment you're able to establish that, then you can see the result. People are openly, freely going the application, put whatever that they feel comfortable, and then the analysis come out, and then they will sit up within the facilities that we have. So I think that's a key thing, Peter.
Thank you for that. I am mindful of the time that we have, and maybe we will take the last questions, and we get Rudy to help us with these questions. And Syukri and Tanmaya, if you have anything else to add on. This question came from Tas Hussein, and he says, you see, between AI, Amber, and real HR persons, both are equally important in this kind of technology era. What's your view?
Okay, for me, technology is enabler. Again, humans still should play their main role. So, but we can get more support from technology to make sure that we can detect something that we cannot do by us as a human. Secondly, also about the speed. Technology will help us to get some information or insight in a real time, while it will be very challenging if we do it directly. And especially in the current situations where we are working in a remote arrangements, it becoming more important, the technology as an enabler for us to be able to support our employees in this kind of challenging situations, Peter.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really mindful of the time. We are just about 1 minute across 3 o'clock. So what I would do is, in essence of all the time, we have 8 more questions to be answered, which is not possible. I would like to draw to a close for this amazing sessions. And I would just want to summarize the entire takeaway that in 3 key points. The first key takeaway is be bold. Change won't happen without innovation, won't happen without change. Thank you, Syukri, for that note. Second one is, if you want to talk about ROI, Rudy is the go-to person, and really it's about data-backed decision making. Without data, no CEO is going to give you the money to buy. And last but not least, AI and analytics is the way forward. And data-driven decisions, inFeedo has the solutions, and if you need it, go and look for them. Now, I also need to take notes that I'm going to hand over back to Herman. Herman, over to you. I know you need to take a quick hold. Am I right to say? Herman, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, and thank you so much, everyone, for attending it. Just to make sure that we're able to cater to your needs moving forward as well, and to sort of get better in the mindshare activity and keep on discussing the relevant topics. We have shared a very brief poll for all of you to get the feedback and understand the current problem statements. Thank you so much, Peter, for mentioning this.
You're welcome. So it's 4 questions only, very simple.
All right, I think we just left with a few more people to sort of get their polls right. We already have 60% people, 63% people who voted now. So maybe another 30 seconds we'll give to this, and we'll quickly end the poll here. Great. I think we received a lot of chat messages that how people have loved the session, how engaging was this. Thank you so much, Peter, Syukri, Rudy, and Tanmaya for your contribution here. And I think we're a little over time right now. So thank you everyone for joining the call. We had great engagement and contribution from the audience as well. And thank you so much. I mean, it was wonderful having all of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.